At the beginning of 1942, my father-in-law was in Singapore with the RAF, and that meant he spent the next 3.5 years in a Japanese prisoner of war camp. He survived while many others died. But like many survivors, he was traumatized, and like most of them, he never spoke about his experiences, except perhaps, or almost accidentally. For Lynn and I were sitting with her parents watching a natural history program on the telly. There was some footage of a snake, and Lynn's dad murmured, "They're quite good to eat." For that's what prisoners of war had to do to supplement a starvation diet. They had to catch snakes or rats or other animals and eat them. And that's what it's still like in North Korea for prisoners in prison camps, in re-education camps, in labor camps, call them what you will, or just join with Google Maps in labeling some of them as concentration camps. And that's a good description for them. There's a lot of Christians in North Korean concentration camps, and they're there simply because they are Christians, and because they worship the true God rather than the great leader, Kim Jong-un. Some of them have life sentences. They're there for life and they'll die in a camp. Many others will die even though they haven't been given a life sentence judicially. They have to supplement their starvation diets by catching snakes or rats or earthworms or whatever, or foraging for berries or mushrooms, because the camps provide very little food, and it can be pretty rotten. It's nowhere near enough to sustain a grown man or woman who has to do long hours, very long hours of hard work, and who has to fulfill the work quota for the day. If they don't make the quota, they could have their rations cut next day, and that, of course, makes for a vicious circle. Many prisoners die of starvation or malnutrition, or they die of some disease or other that walking skeletons are liable to develop. Many of our Christian brothers and sisters are dying like this, but they still hold to their faith, holding to it more tenaciously than many of us do. They might even lead a fellow prisoner or two to Christ if they aren't caught in the act and killed on the spot. There's a lot of countries where Christians are persecuted. There's lots of information around about what's going on, and lots that we could at least pray about. For myself, I decided a couple of years ago that in terms of prayer, I couldn't concentrate on several countries at once, so I focus on North Korea. And within North Korea, I focus on our brothers and sisters in concentration camps there. There may be 50,000 or so of them. There are no stats, there's only estimates. There's not much practical help that anybody outside can give to these prisoners. The whole country is so tightly controlled that it's almost impossible. The only thing that is possible is to ask the Lord to provide. Jehovah Jireh, who makes all things possible. I pray for their sleep when there's so little time allotted for that. I pray for their warmth when they have to endure minus 20 degrees Celsius in scant clothing. But above all, I pray using the words of the Lord's Prayer. Give them this day their daily bread. Jesus spoke of bread because it happened to be a staple food in Galilee. It also happens to be a staple food in Britain. In these concentration camps, they don't even get the North Korean staple of rice. It's usually corn that they get, hard to cook and hard to digest. meagre amounts of poor quality corn and very little else. Lord, give them this day what they need to survive. I don't know how you're going to do it, Lord. It would be presumptuous of me to specify the method you should use. But I do know that you fed the Israelites in the wilderness with manna, and you did that for 40 years. Lord, give them this day what they need to survive. And above all, give them of yourself, that they may continue to be sustained in their faith and sustained in their hope of what lies before them, whether they're released or whether they die in prison. Lord, thank you for their witness, and thank you for your care for them. Amen.